On today's episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, we have a couple fun segments today. We have an interview with a couple of second swing fitters at TPI. The fitters were down there doing some training. We were down there with them, got some unique insights into how Titleist clubs have performed in the Bay in 2025. We also have Harrison Arnold joining us for a quick look at some of the unique clubs and the winning bags on various tours this week. We had a PGA Tour, we had an LPGA Tour, and we had the DP World Tour. We actually had one club model in the bag for all three winners, so stay tuned for that discussion as well here on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Hey golfers, I'm Drew Mahol, the Second Swing Golf, joined by Sean Bauer, co-host of the show. Once again in the studio, we got a lot to cover today. A busy weekend in professional golf. We have some fitting insights from a couple fitters down at TPI. We were down there a couple weeks ago and got a unique look at some equipment coming in the future from Titleist, but also they got to do some training as well. We got some insights from them. And then, of course, we'll have Harrison join here for an in-depth look at some of the winning clubs on tour as well.
Yeah, great show, two great interviews, a couple of new fitters to the Second Swing Thoughts podcast that you'll enjoy. Warren Bailey, Jackie Johnson, both outstanding fitters here, and they're both up here in our Minnesota stores. And then kind of looking at some of the trending and unique clubs that were in play this weekend, specifically a Ping iron that happened to be in the bags of all three winners. So really good stuff. And let's get right into the turn here, and we're going to start off with the PGA Tour. Adam Schenk survived the windy, blustery conditions at the Butterfield Bermuda brutal. Championship. Pretty crazy wind out there. Picks up his first PGA Tour win. He had a little knee knocker there on the 72nd, which in normal conditions, I don't think, 3-4 feet, but with how windy it was, pretty nerve-wracking. But that big win, this is 243rd career start on the PGA Tour, first win. And the big news is that moves him from 134 in the FedEx Cup standings all up to 67. So that gets him to avoid Q School, and the win gets him a 2-year exemption on tour. So pretty monumental win for him. Yeah, that's a massive win for him. And he, first of all, probably the best name you can have in golf when your last name is Schenk. But it's a huge win for these guys. This part of the season, I think it needs to be talked about more and with how important it is for these guys that might not be the household names, the Scotty Schefflers, the Justin Thomases, if you will, but these are the guys that, could become those players if once they earn their tour cards, which is what a lot of these guys are trying to do here in this fall season. And he took advantage of it. And this week, especially with the wind like that, it took some serious guts and mental toughness to fight through it, and some of the shots that they had to hit out there in that wind, crazy. So good for him. That's a cool moment. Yeah, I think there was one shot that I think it was Schenk that hit it, and he basically just played it along the ground. Yeah, it was like a 5-iron. He just basically hit a chip shot, barely 100 yards. 100-yard bump and run,
Yep.
But it was kind of funny listening to the analyst. He was like, well, I've heard of flighting your ball, but this is a whole different animal. So pretty cool. Obviously just goes to show you, how good these guys are, that they can adapt to those conditions. And then these fall events are kind of that mix of the career grinders and kind of the young and up and comers,
yes.
Right? So it's guys that are trying to make their way on the PGA Tour, maybe fresh out of college, move their way up through, some of the mini tours, and then the guys that have been doing this for a very long time that may have just, maybe they were, full-time members earlier, but just due to, maybe getting a little older, some injuries, anything like that, have kind of fallen off. So really cool for him to win that. And speaking of really cool, he has one of the coolest what's in the bags you'll see.
Yes.
Harrison will break it down. You and Harrison break it down much more in detail, but we're just going to do a quick look. He goes driver, Ping G400, his irons, Ping I210, 2-iron through 5-iron, and then he goes Mizuno MP18 SCs, 6 to pitching wedge. And then I guess he gets a little new with the Vokey SM10s. And then plays the kind of the original Odyssey Tri-Hot Rossi, which they've kind of reinvigorated in years past, but the original. So pretty cool bag there.
It's remarkable too for a guy who, again, 243 starts on tour without a win, and he's sticking with this equipment still. Where there's so many guys, I feel like the default thing would be like, well, I might as well get the newest stuff. when you're someone like Adam Schenk and you have access to this stuff out on the tour trucks every week. But yeah, this is a crazy win for him with that unique setup. Again, he goes from 134 out of conditional status even on the PGA Tour. We're going from lucky to get a few starts next year on the PGA Tour to now he's got guaranteed status, a 2-year exemption. He can avoid Q school. That's job security for 2 years, which is that's really cool for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we're going to go from the PGA Tour to the LPGA Tour. They had the Annika this weekend. Obviously Annika Sorenstam is probably the biggest name in golf ever. This tournament hosted by her. She's a Swedish native, and a fellow Swede ends up picking up the win. I believe she's the first Swede to win the event. It's Lynn Grant. She beat Jennifer Kupcho by 3 strokes for the win. Crazy stat. She went 52 straight holes without a bogey. Her only bogey coming on the 72nd hole.
That's a good way to win a golf tournament. Just stop. Just don't make bogeys for 2 straight days at least.
And with the winning score, I think winning score 5-6 under there, goes to show you how tough the course is playing. So to avoid that for that long, very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's how you play great golf. And she's also got a fun bag that we go through a little bit as well with Harrison. In particular, we can talk about that set of irons. The I-210s again that Adam Schenk had. Big week for Ping I-210 irons.
Big week for Ping I-210 irons. You had obviously Schenk, Lynn Grant, and Matt Fitzpatrick, who of course won on the DP World Tour, winning the Tour Championships there. He plays, I believe it's just a 4-iron in the Ping I-210. But still to see a model that's now, 2 generations?
It's old. Generations. It was like a 2018 release or something like that.
There's a pretty big gap between the 210s and the 230s years-wise. So pretty impressive to see that in the bag of 3 winners on 3 of the biggest tours, across the sport. So pretty impressive. And then, for our second swing, we had a couple second swing ambassadors, playing in the Annika.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Both made the cut. Both performed pretty well. Kate Smithrow tied for 65th, and then Kristen Gilman finished tied for 33rd. So
I think as of right now, I believe Kate has conditional status in the LPGA next year, finishing just outside the top 100. And I know Kristen's got her tour card locked up. So I think Kate now gets a chance then to go to kind of that final stage of Q school, so to speak, for LPGA to kind of regain full status. But it is fun to follow them all year long and see where they're at on the leaderboard. And they're out there, of course, if you're watching on TV and you happen to see them pop up, they got a second swing hat on, so we root for them every time. But it's fun. Yeah,
and then just kind of going back to Matt Fitzpatrick, of course, he won the DP World Tour Championships, but Rory McIlroy winning his 7th Race to Dubai title. Passes Seve Ballesteros, and now he is 1 shy of Colin Montgomery's record. He gets that, and I think it's going to be pretty safe to say that Rory McIlroy is the greatest European golfer of all time.
He's definitely up there. Phenomenal legacy and career so far.
Yeah. So now transitioning from the professional ranks to maybe the biggest event in golf, at least in YouTube golf.
Something like that.
The Internet Invitational. I know you and I watched it. Every episode. We even watched one on a flight on the way back from Scottsdale on a content trip, and it wrapped up. Kind of just curious your just general thoughts on the whole tournament and what you think this does for, YouTube golf moving forward.
I appreciate the format of it being that it kind of takes these guys out of a lot of their challenges or what they do for their channels. It's very individual based. They're playing challenges on their own, or they're trying to beat individually the other guys are playing with. But this is a team thing, and then the alternate shot part of it, towards the end of it, makes it even more so of a team thing where you inherently feel more pressure because it's not just about you, it's about the 2 teammates that they were playing with and playing for. So that part I love about this, and the fact that it isn't just an individual thing. They work in the team aspect. And of course, with that added pressure, there's some added emphasis on the rules and if you're going to try and go around those rules with 100 cameras on you, you're not going to get away with it when the stakes are as high as they were. So I enjoyed it all. Really cool to see Beef end up as the victor there. That was really fun to see him and the way he reacted as the winner on that last green. So I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next year. I'm hoping they maybe even expand the field, but we never really know what Dave and team are going to do. They kind of keep on the edge of their seat, but I think it's a big time win.
Yeah, I thought it was outstanding. Someone who works on the production side of things, I can't even imagine how many hours of just logging video and audio and then having to edit it all together. I don't even want to know how long that took for, 6 full episodes?
And they're all like 3 hours.
Yeah, like that's incredible. I know talking with our team here, they were all just like, that was the first thing all of our team was like, dude, I can't even imagine how long it took to edit. So really, really cool. The production was awesome. Came down to the very final hole. Very infamous moment for Frankie Borelli, but you couldn't have delivered it any better. The format I thought was fantastic. It didn't just give the best players the chance, right? It kind of helped. You had to build your team not only with very good players, but you had to with some lower end players, right? Some higher handicaps. So it gave everyone a chance to win. Obviously, Brad Dahlke was unbelievable. I really hope that guy maybe tries to go professional. Just tries, even if he just gets some sponsors, invites, just to see how he would stack up because he's so good at golf. He was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Really good. And I do hope they kind of expand the field, and I'm putting it on the record here. They need to come invite Drew Mahold and Kevin Kraft.
I don't know if that would be a good idea.
All right, maybe not Drew Mahold, but Kevin Kraft.
Kevin would be fantastic. We're calling out. I don't know. There's very little chance that the decision makers will watch this. Yeah, but Kevin Kraft, he'd be a great addition. One thing I will add, they really need to make like an active gin required, because a lot of time was spent kind of not bickering, maybe is the wrong term, but trying to decide what the teams were to make them fair there in that last couple sessions. If you have a handicap that's active, feels like an easy way to go about it. And then at the beginning, they had these tiers, of like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It'd be really easy to just
tier it out
by handicap.
Well,
but this is probably nitpicking in the overall experience of it. But anyway, we do have to get Kevin there. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But all right, so that wraps up the turn, and now we'll get into the first of 2 featured topics. Of course, we're talking about kind of the top trending and unique equipment in play. Most times we focus primarily on the PGA Tour, but this week, just with 3 big events going on, we kind of talked about, LPGA Tour, DP World Tour, PGA Tour. So here is Drew and Harrison breaking down some of that equipment and what we see in the fitting bays.
We now welcome on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, Harrison Arnold, back for another segment looking into the winning clubs on tour. We actually have a 2-for-1 today. A couple of bags we're going to look into. We'll start with Adam Schenk, the 2025 Butterfield Bermuda Championship. That's a lot of bees. It's a tongue twister there. Yeah. I love that. I love Schenk's bag. There's a lot of throwback tech, throwback club models in here, and I kind of want to start with one that I know our fitters love, and in terms of the used fitting. And I know what Jake Montgomery has always said, this is a driver that oftentimes when a player comes in for a fitting and they have this driver, he always kind of panics because it's tough to beat this one. The Ping G400. This is a 2017 or 2018 release.
2017, I think. Yeah.
So with a Ventus Black 7X shaft, talk to me about that combo, what you see, and maybe why he hasn't changed into anything more recent or more, I guess, later in release.
I mean, to start, I think it's definitely a comfort level thing, right? G400 is a very good driver. It was very forgiving, very stable, delivered very consistent spin rates across the face. So that's kind of why we do struggle when people bring those into the bays, because it's going to be hard to really beat that unless we're in the wrong shaft or we're in the max head when we need to lower spinning head. Sometimes then it's a bit of a saving grace, but it's just a great driver overall. He's got that Ventus Black 7X in there. It's going to give him a bit more stability, lower in spin, lower in launch shaft. I think it's a great pairing, but clearly he's someone who likes to trust what he knows.
Yeah, so that's where even have you seen that scenario come up in a fitting where someone has it might not be necessarily G400, but even like a driver that they've had for so long, and there's this comfort level with that where they try a fitting, and sometimes you're just like, you know what, you swing this club better, let's keep that.
Yeah, I mean that happens I wouldn't say a lot in our fittings, but definitely more common than you think, where we're just really going to fit someone to a shaft. They come in with a head that, and that's something that we do offer too, is in our used fittings, can we find you a shaft that's going to complement this head a little bit better? Because if we're looking at that head and it's working great, we're not going to stand there and say, you need to buy the brand new tech, because if we can't beat it, then let's find ways to dial that in a little bit better for you. So yeah, definitely not uncommon to see these things. Definitely had a few scenarios this year where I've had someone come in with a great example where someone had an epic flash driver. He said he played 150 to 200 rounds a year.
It's a lot of tee shots with that driver.
Golf, yeah. So he's worn this driver in, and I couldn't touch another driver that was better than that driver. I mean, there's probably an element of he's worn that face down so thin. It's just the ball is really quick. Yeah, but yeah, we couldn't touch it. So we had to kind of just say, well, sir, you got the best you got.
Yeah, right.
Until that thing breaks, keep running with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element.
We made a few tweaks to the hosel setting and
sure,
a little bit more to dial him a little bit, but overall, he had a great driver in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you can do in a fitting is there's the club head, of course, that you can upgrade, but you can also, with a lot of these drivers in the last 5-10 years, there is adjustable hosel settings, there's adjustable weighting on the sole. There is also, of course, the shaft that you can optimize. So there are ways around it if you really feel like you want to keep the driver head, like Adam Schenk did with the G400. Yeah. Now into his irons, a fun, unique combo of irons here. Again, he's got two models that are, probably 8 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Ping I210 at the top of the set from the 2 through 5, and then the MP18 SC in the 6 through pitching wedge. How often have you seen, or have you ever fit, I guess, a player into the blended set of two different brands?
I wouldn't say it's very common, Drew.
Yeah.
We've definitely done it before.
Okay.
I had a couple scenarios this year where someone really loved the long irons they had. I think there were a couple driving irons, and they're using them kind of as their 3 to 5 iron.
Sure.
Love those, so we fit kind of the bottom half of the bag, and they were a different brand. So there's scenarios where that may make sense, right? Again, it's a comfort level thing. Schenk has played this same setup since he joined as a Ping staffer in 2018. He was a Mizuno man before, so his whole bag is just, I trust these clubs. I'm very reluctant to change.
Yep.
There's a comfort level there. There's probably a little bit of well, I'm going to say ignorance to change, but if it's working, don't.
Right.
Why are we going to go fix it, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, so very interesting to kind of see these using the i210s. We've got 3 new models of those now, right? We've got up to the i240s, 2 new models.
Yeah.
A lot of guys still like that Ping i210. It was a slightly different design, wasn't a hollow body design then, so it definitely didn't come out quite as hot. So for people looking for that forgiveness and a little bit more precision, that was a great iron.
Yeah, I played i210. I love it. And then even, kind of the transition we can make there is that i210 was in the bag for several wins on tour this week. So we can kind of transition then into, Lynn Grant, and also we'll touch on Matt Fitzpatrick. Both played at least one, or maybe a set of i210 irons. But just talk to me about i210 in general. I know you touched on it there, but how often you're seeing that as a popular choice as maybe a used iron?
Yeah, that was stores. Definitely my top 3 of used iron fittings this year. It's a great iron that you can kind of fit anyone from a scratch plus figure PGA Tour player all the way up to like a 10-15 handicap, really. It just encapsulates a big group of people. It's got a nice wide sole, it's very forgiving, but it still has that precision you need. The i210 in itself isn't quite as hot as the i230s and the i240s. They just became a little bit too hot for the precision. So that's why we're seeing a lot of tour players. Even Victor Hovland, I think, still uses the i210s. If I'm not,
I believe so.
If I'm not mistaken, there. The reason is just because they can control their ball speeds a little bit more. If we start to see that ball speed jump on us on every 5 or 6 swings, yeah, well, that might be good for other people to get a bit more ball speed, but for the people who are prioritizing precision like tour players are, it's why it's so popular still.
Yeah, I think, and there's an element, think Tyrrell Hatton was another guy who used them well. You know, I don't think he's still using them, but I believe he was for a long time using I-210.
Lee Westwood as well.
Yep. Guys that there is a certain, and they're not even forged either, which is an interesting part of that. I think they still feel really good for not being a forged iron, and they look. Again, I played them for a long time.
Yeah.
They're a favorite of mine. So
I don't blame you.
Into a couple things with Lynn Grant as well. Ping G430 LST with the Fujikura Speeder TR 757S shaft. Talk to me about that combo and what you've seen from either the driver head or the shaft there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Ping G430 in itself, between the Max, the LST, and the SFT, well, the 10K Max has 4 options, right? That was probably by far my biggest seller for used drivers this year. It's only a year old now, so I'm not surprised that she still got it in the bag.
Yeah,
really stable, really low in spin, but it's a lot higher in spin and launch than some of the other low spin drivers out in the market. So for someone who I have in the bay, who we need to bring the spin down with their to get them kind of more optimal, definitely was an option to look at if we went to a tailor-made option that just started to spin a little bit too low. You know, be like, okay, well, there's a pretty clear winner here. Let's go grab that Ping. I'm sure it'll kind of fit, and it usually did. Yeah, so I'm not really surprised to kind of see her still have that in the bag.
Yeah,
it was a great driver. So if it's not broke, why are we fixing it, right?
Right.
In the other half of the bag, she's put a IDI 4-iron into the top of her set of I-210s, which is, I mean, I would like to see that be a little bit more common.
Yeah,
you don't really see that a lot, especially when we're in the fitting bay. I think people are kind of reluctant to kind of put a bigger head, a little bit more forgiving, right? There's no shame in putting bigger, more forgiving irons in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take all the help I can get. So clearly for her, she's looking at the conditions they're playing on tour, and she's thinking, okay, well, with my I-210, I'm maybe not getting enough land angle, maybe I'm not getting enough height. Let me go to a IDI 4-iron where I can get a little bit more ball speed, a little bit more land angle, so she can kind of get to some of those longer par 4s and kind of attack those flags a little bit more. Yeah,
I know Ping specifically built the IDIs a little bit differently by loft, where, you know, compared to other, say, 2-irons, the IDI 2-iron center of gravity might be a little bit higher just to make sure it is kind of a driving iron that you can flight, whereas the 4-iron is kind of built like a long iron more so than a T-club, where it has a lower center of gravity than maybe most 4-irons, and that way you can launch it and get that stopping power that you're looking for at the top of the bag.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm looking forward to kind of next year, or as this product's still going to be in cycle. It's definitely something I'm going to be looking at putting in the top end of a lot of guys' bags, because it's not too upsetting to look down at either. It's actually a pretty nice compact package, right? So
no, I enjoy. I mean, I have IDI.
I enjoy it. If you can get more forgiveness, why not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Lastly, we'll dive quickly into Matt Fitzpatrick. Big win for him on the World DP Tour Championship.
Yep.
Titleist GT3 driver. One thing for him, he's made some big strides the last few years off the tee.
Yeah.
He's got a GT3 in the bag right now with a Tensai AV Raw Orange 65 TX shaft.
Yeah, that's
how many of those shafts do you fit? I feel like that's a relatively rare run. And then also the GT3 too. Give me your thoughts on that in the bay, because that's been, I imagine, a winner as well.
Yeah, most of the GT line has been extremely popular this year. Definitely been one of the quickest models on that has been available. So not surprised to kind of see him putting in the bag, especially with that orange TX in there. It's a very low torque, very stable shaft. And if you looked at his bag about 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think he could have gained this, but he's been using the stack system, which we've done a video on recently, and he's been gaining a lot of speed. I think he's north of 10 or 15 miles an hour he's added.
It's
something
a
in
lot,
those lines, right? So
I know he's up there in like the 180s for ball speed when they have the little graphic on TV, and it's like how is with respect to Matt Fitzpatrick, how is this little guy able to generate all that speed?
Exactly, he's putting a lot of speed. He's putting me to shame. But yeah, so not surprised to kind of see him playing something like this. He's saying that's going to be low in spin with those speeds. When you're a higher speed player, you do need something that's going to be nice and low in spin, like the GT3. And then in that raw orange, we don't fit a lot of guys into that. You need a lot of speed, and I think it kind of just complements what he's doing. What
kind of advantages have you seen in the fitting bay to maybe some examples of just the fact that there is all this adjustability on the GT3, that you have the weight, you have the hosel, you have, of course, you can adjust shaft as well. What kind of advantage is that for you as a fitter to be able to have all those toys to play with?
Oh, I think it's huge having that sort of sliding track weight in the back. Kind of wish they would bring out in all the models, really.
Right.
But someone who's really struggling with a heel miss or really struggling with a toe miss, there's a few things that we can do. But by moving that weight and putting more mass back there, it's just going to help them to deliver more consistent ball speeds across the face. And that can be the difference of, the spin creeping up too high, or that could be the difference of, my driver ballooned on that par 5. I feel like if I would have just gone an extra 10 yards, could have reached the green in 2 and had a chance at birdie, right? So I think it's a really big strength of what Titleist are offering right now, is they got a extremely quick driver that has a lot of different options for us to kind of move around.
Yeah, that's I know you and all the fitters love playing around with everything that you can do on the GT3 driver. We got to get a couple of things left for Matt Fitzpatrick. We talked about the I-210 irons. He has those, or at least a 4-iron, I believe, in his bag. And then we have Ping S55 as well, which is, that's a model that's been around for over a decade. I believe Bubba Watson famously played that for a long time, or maybe even still does.
Oosthuizen's played those for a long time.
Yeah, Oosthuizen. So, what do you remember? What do you know about Ping S55? You probably don't fit a lot of those anymore.
Not
but
really.
There's still a bunch in the used selection here at Second Swing, but
they're still, for a bladed style of iron, they're pretty forgiving. I think they were 2013, 2014. So I was pretty young when those things come out, but. You always look at them and go, oh, that looks good, right?
Right.
But he clearly trusts it. It's kind of like Schenk. You just really trust what he knows. I know he tried to switch the Blueprint S after the 23 Ryder Cup, and I think it's pretty short-lived. So he clearly went trust what he knows and just sticks with it, right? But he has got the I-210 as a 4-iron in that set. Kind of a similar story to Lynn Grant. I would assume he's doing that to deliver a few more miles an hour ball speed and to get that land angle come down nice and soft. I think you call that a turkey for the I-210 this week, right? That's three wins across the globe.
That's
it's pretty good.
You don't see that very often, especially with an iron that is as old as the Ping I-210.
Yeah.
Last thing we're going to cover with Fitzpatrick is the putter. He made a quick little change, which this week he used Bettinardi. This is a Das BB48. It's a prototype mallet. We've seen it before too, guys making putter changes and then they kind of immediately find something.
Yeah.
I guess when it comes to, do you receive that kind of feedback from the golfers you work with as well? It's like you make a putter change, maybe it's just a couple things visually or a couple things with the weight of the putter, and all of a sudden something just clicks for them.
Yeah, I think changing a putter, you got to give it time, right? We always call it the honeymoon period. You play great for the first couple rounds, but you got to kind of work through the kinks with it a little bit. You can't be switching around all the time. I'm a terrible example of that, but with his putter, what they have done in this, because it's a prototype, Bettinardi have managed to put the C groove technology into the face, because he was famously used the Yes Tracy 2, I believe,
for
years and years. I think he used it from when he was a boy all the way up through his first few wins on the DP World Tour. So I know he's been moving around with stuff like that, but you obviously trust that C groove technology in the face. Again, going back to stick with what you know, right? So interesting that they've managed to kind of mix that technology into a Bettinardi putter that really suits his eye.
You realize, do you notice, I guess, when you're working with players, like there's just they gravitate sometimes towards a certain type of face, whether it's a milling or whether it's an insert type, maybe it's by brand, a certain feel. Yeah. Do you find that often when you're working with players, like, oh, I just like this one, or this one rolls better?
Yeah, for sure. And that definitely, especially with the putter, you got to feel confident in what you got in your hands, right? I think when we're kind of looking at putters, there might be a putter that is marginally performing better when we're looking at Quintic or we're looking at TrackMan putting results. But if you're not looking down that and just loving what you're doing with it, well, let's just put it to the side.
Right.
If you already got that down in your mind, it's already putting on them, being on the greens is already a mental game anyway. Let's try and eliminate as many outside factors as we can. We got to just look at, okay, do we aim it well? Okay, tick. Does it roll well? Tick. If we can find you something that magically puts both of those together and it's something that you'd like the look of, okay, well, let's stop. Let's get out of the door.
That's one way to get your confidence up on the greens. But so yeah, that's a quick summary of the winning clubs in the bag this week on a variety of tours, and then how they've done in the fitting bays as well. So Harrison, we appreciate your insight here.
Of course.
All right, and that was Harrison Arnold talking through the winning bags this week. Some fun insights there on, of course, like I thought I wanted to ask specifically about like Adam Shank and the fact that he's got some older clubs and the trust factor that he's also seen with players in the bag too, where sometimes a driver head works for this player 5-6 years after they first got it. All right, fine, let's just make some tweaks to the hosel or the shaft and be on your way, instead of, now the driver heads today are $700. If it's not going to make that huge upgrade, well, maybe the driver you're playing just needs a couple tweaks to it.
Yeah, a little change of loft, maybe just a slightly different shaft, anything like that. But I was kind of surprised you didn't, you're talking about equipment that people trust. I was kind of surprised you didn't, poke Harrison a little bit for playing, the
That's true. Yeah.
RBZ
I probably should have done
Stage
that.
2 3-wood, But, yeah, really good stuff. Always enjoy it. And, the Ping I-210, I mean, what a weekend for that club.
Yeah. You don't see that very often, especially even like, it's one thing if it was like a new driver, like if a new driver model won on every tour, like that would be surprising, but it wouldn't, be crazy to think about.
Yeah.
An I-210, an iron that's 7 years old, to win like that on 3 major tours is pretty cool.
So, yeah, big weekend for the I-210, big weekend for Ping.
Yeah.
A couple players there with big wins and plenty of their clubs in play. So pretty cool to see. And now we move into our second featured topic, Drew.
Yeah, this was fun. We were at TPI in kind of their own podcast studio, so that part was fun too. But this is with Warren Bailey and Jackie Johnson, a couple of club fitters who were down there doing some training with Titleist on their products, and we just sat down with Warren and Jackie and asked them what they thought of the current Titleist lineup. So they gave some pretty unique insights and some examples. We welcome you back to the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. I am joined now by Warren Bailey and Jackie Johnson, a couple master club fitters. We're actually at TPI right now because both of you guys are down for some training. So we figured it'd be a good time to just talk a little bit of Titleist. So what we're going to do is kind of go around and just get some thoughts on, the Titleist. We're going to drivers, fairway woods, and irons. Warren, I'll start with you. Fitting GT drivers the past year and a half now, probably.
Yep.
Kind of what are your big takeaways? Where has GT excelled a lot, and where have you really made some big leaps for golfers with the GT drivers?
I think in the GT line, what's been the most impressive from the line has been the number of people that they're able to fit, because in years past, it was a little more focused and didn't quite cover as many golfers. And in the GT line, especially the GT1, I think they've fit quite a bit more people, so it's made it more exciting for us to be able to put that into the mix when we do fittings with all the golfers.
Sure, it's just any type of golfer that there's an option within the GT lineup, because there is a wide array. You go GT1, super high MOI and lightweight, and then GT4 you have super low spin basically capabilities there.
Exactly, and with the hosel that they carry, our ability to get a little more specific has gotten even better with that as well. So
it covers a wide range of masses, but then with the weights or the hosel, you can really get then specific after that.
It's altering. It's great.
Sure. Jackie, for GT drivers, what's been your big takeaway fitting those the last year plus now?
GT2 is awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think, I love all of them for different reasons, but I think GT2, you talk about TSR2, right? You talk about the TS2. A lot of reasons why players wouldn't get fit into that is because it just spun too much. And, if you have a higher swing speed player and you're trying to give them a more forgiving driver in TSR2, TS2, is a hard sell. You're having to go to the 3 because it just with the spin rate, right? And being able to keep it in a better window. GT2, a lot of us are playing it over at Minnetonka. So if that tells you anything, most of those guys are swinging, 110 plus. So the fact that now they're able to give you a GT version that is forgiving but yet can control spin has been great. Biggest thing that I've loved about the GT3 is just when you get players that, launch it to the moon. Right. The GT3 has been awesome to try to keep that down. Now, crazy enough, I think I fit more GT3s in a 10 and an 11 than I ever would imagine, just because of how low it does launch.
Right.
So, but again, that's really good for players that we've had that when you're trying to get them into the 3, which is still, like, I would say a relatively forgiving driver. I mean, yes, there's not as forgiving as the GT2, but for a player that wants to get, that spin of what the GT3 gives you, but it launches in a better window for someone that launches it higher. I mean, it's been really good. And the GT1, I mean, seniors and women, very, very good. It's been awesome to add that to the competition of, you got the max fast and whatnot that like can really give a player that has a slower swing speed to get more distance off of. Where I think that's kind of been, it hasn't been a great option in the past, as good as the GT1 has been.
Yeah.
So I think they've really made improvements there.
Yeah, it seems like all around they're encapsulating more golfers with their lineup, right? And then, as you mentioned, like they're able to dial it in even further than with
I think they took advantage of feedback that they got from a lot of other players, and they had said so themselves that we weren't getting enough juniors, we weren't getting enough women, we weren't really giving seniors a good club option, and the GT1 has been really an example of that. And again, I'll go back and say the GT3 has fit more golfers as well because of its versatility.
Sure.
For sure.
And that's helped
adjustable
that
weights plus hosel.
Yep.
And then actually that's an angle I didn't think of, which was giving them more loft, but in a lower launching driver head with GT3. So I want to transition to the fairway woods because GT1's probably really, is at least tour-wise, there's a lot more players playing GT1 on tour or this new GT1 3 tour model. Have you guys seen that in fittings, or is it more so sticking to the added forgiveness but also like maybe lower launching ball speed of GT2 or GT3?
I think the GT1 is definitely more inviting.
Yeah.
I think when you're comparing it to all the other lineups, the GT2 or GT3 in the fairway woods, it's a smaller profile, right? So I think a lot of players they'll lay it down and be like, ooh, like this looks tough to hit. Whereas the GT1, it's like, oh, a lot more inviting, definitely easier to hit, launches the ball in an awesome window. So I think there's definitely been a turn into a lot more players being open to trying the GT1 and not thinking, oh, it's only for slow swing speed players. Like, there's a lot of players that can get fit into the GT1.
Yeah. From your perspective, Warren, the fairway wood conversation, how often are you fitting someone into just a standard 15-degree 3-wood? I feel like that has kind of slowly deteriorated over the last couple of years.
In fact, I have to talk people out of it because they've been brainwashed so completely that they need to have that club. I'm putting more people into the 16.5, and then we're experimenting with shaft length to find out where they can hit it most consistently and get it a little higher, get a little better carry. So, yeah, I honestly try to keep people out of that 15-degree unless they can really say, no, I can hit it, and then they show it to us. But yeah, not so much.
Which that's a big bonus that Titleist does offer. There's a 16.5 head which acts as a 4-wood, and you can at least have that as an option right away, where you're not totally changing a ton about what they do. It's just a little bit more loft to give them that launch.
I've actually gone more to what we'll say is a 4-wood and a 7-wood when I'm setting people up now, as opposed to the traditional 3 and a 5-wood.
Right.
And we've gotten just as good a carry and I think a little tighter dispersion.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want that right there? So now let's go to the T-Series irons. These are the big launch from Titleist in 2025. I'll start with you, Jackie, on T-Series. Which of the models have you been, I guess, most impressed with in fittings? Between T100, 150, 250 is kind of the new, wrinkle in the lineup, and then T350.
I mean, you can never go wrong with the T100. I'd say that's probably the majority of what I fit in irons is a lot of T100s for a player that's looking at, to have the performance of Titleist or the feel of Titleist. But I would definitely say, I mean, we've been talking a lot about it, is the T250 or, getting that with the more higher launch spec option has been, I mean, it's really, really good for players that don't launch the ball high at all. Yeah. So to have that option has been a great option for your senior players and even with the ladies. So I love the look of the 250 and the 350. I think to have a more forgiving option, I think it's a lot more inviting for players to if they like the look of a more, I want to say blade, but definitely a better looking club. You can get them the 250 or the 350 if they need that extra forgiveness, and they're like, ooh, this looks good. It looks
still
sleek.
Kind of slimmer. It doesn't look super chunky.
Right.
Yeah.
The 250 launch spec is definitely very different than anything Titleist has ever done before, and it's definitely it's fun to see people hit it and be like, oh my gosh, I've never hit it that high in my life. And
is it too radical? Because I mean, there's HL models out there that are like 2-3 degrees difference. This is like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Is it too high, or do you have some times where that's perfect?
Actually, it's been very popular, especially with those high to mid handicap golfers that, lately now we're talking about launch and spin and landing angle more than anything else, because don't try to chase the distance. And you've got a lot of manufacturers that keep bringing those lofts down. Titleist went the other direction and said, hey, let's get that thing in the air. The other part about a hollow body for many years was that it had that hollow sound, and Titleist has done a really good job about making that sound just like a T100 or T150. It sounds great. That's been one of my favorites. The T150 has been really good, and I like the fact that they are pressing for a combo sets.
I was going to ask about that too.
They're saying, you know what, 80% of the people are doing combo sets, and they said we should be doing 100.
Yeah.
And the more we talk to them today, the more I believe it as well. So
yeah, because also they're designed to blend. Like the shape, 100 and 150 are almost, they can easily blend together, but the 250 and 350 and the way they look, they're so much closer together in the appearance that that transition, if it's from say 150 to 250, isn't nearly as
not as radical.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's drastic. So I think that's a big bonus as well.
And I think the biggest thing that you'll see for any player that needs, like when you're testing out a more game improvement iron, I mean, nothing looks like the Titleist 250 or 350. I mean, truly. So like, it is by far the best looking game improvement iron out there. So like, if you're wanting a player that is, or if you have a player that is really getting into the game, they're improving, right? They want to try and get more feedback on the club, right? And you're trying to transition them, not quite to the T100 yet or anything, but you're looking for something that has a good look. They can work the ball just maybe a little bit and still have that really good forgiveness in there. I mean, they just have so many options now that it's phenomenal to be able to have the whole lineup.
From a fitting standpoint, what Titleist did really well recently is they changed their fitting adapter system.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And it has been, it's just game changing because
the 27 settings. Is
yeah,
what it is?
But anywhere from 4 up to 2 flat, and then you can go upright or flat.
Yeah,
it just makes it so much easier to really dial a golfer in to exactly what they need.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end this segment. I think is just Titleist makes it the easiest on you guys to dial somebody in. I think, in addition to, of course, the performance and the tech of the products. That's been awesome. It sounds like that's kind of the stamp of approval from both of you guys.
Oh, totally agree.
On Titleist. So golfers, go get fit for Titleist. Schedule a fitting with either Warren or Jackie or any one of our Second Swing Master Club fitters. We'll get you dialed in, as Warren said. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Warren and Jackie talking Titleist. Fun to bring some fresh perspectives from the Second Swing stable of master club fitters. They were down there too. It's fun to watch the fitters as well, and the level of detail and in depth that they go with the Titleist team as well. Just making sure that when you guys, the viewers and listeners come in and get fit, like our team knows the ins and outs, up and down, like everything there is to know about the products. In this case, specifically Titleist.
Yeah. Not surprised to hear some of the successes they've seen. Titleist GT has been a big winner. I know in the fitting bays on the driver's side and the woods, all that. But I do think they kind of mentioned the 250 launch spec. I know we've seen some very successful fits with that club. I think that's a great option, giving players more loft in a day and age where we've chased distance for so long that we've lost that peak height and spin. And now Titleist has that option to get the launch spec version. I know we had a pretty prominent college hockey player. I believe that's what he got fit into here. So you'll learn more about that maybe coming out here soon. But really good stuff. Really appreciate Warren and Jackie for sitting down, and thanks to Titleist for letting us come in and film in their their podcast studio.
Yeah. I mean, moving forward on the YouTube channel, of course, if you're not subscribed, please do. As of this podcast being launched, there is a new iron set available, or at least able to be looked at. Learn about. It's a Strixon ZXIR irons, kind of in addition to the ZXI lineup. So we have a video swing report on the YouTube channel, so go check that out, where we dive into all the ins and outs and where that actually fits within their lineup. And then we got some more comparisons coming up on the channel as well. We have a wedge one. We don't do a lot of wedge ones, but we have a TaylorMade MG5 versus Callaway Opus SP that's coming out next week. Dive into that with Harrison Arnold, testing various different shots there. And then actually what's also new is a fun one too that's coming up this week is a look at Stack putting. We went on the putting green with Jake Montgomery and did their putting analysis, and that's kind of a fun one as well. So stay tuned for there.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, on the second swing side, of course, it is, it's almost December. The holiday season is here. Make sure you check out our holiday gift guide. It has everything for the avid golfer to the casual golfer. It has specific prices, stocking stuffers, you name it. There's a perfect golf gift for everyone in there. Also online, Ryder Cup apparel. A lot of times we've get some Ryder Cup or PGA Championship gear, and it's only available in our stores here in Minnesota. But our kudos to our team for processing the amount of inventory they got, and a lot of it is now available online. So gear right from Bethpage Black, available on secondswing.com, going for awesome prices. So make sure you check that out. And, of course, the Scotty Cameron OC, the onset, they officially launched last Friday, so you can order those on secondswing.com. And we'll have limited supply at the stores, but should have plenty for you. So
check out the video as well on the YouTube channel. We got firsthand review from Austin Rollinson, who is basically Scotty Cameron's right-hand man. With the R&D department there. So check that out as well. But golfers, if you're not subscribed, do it. This is the same message I say to wrap every episode, but subscribe on YouTube, subscribe where you're listening to it on the audio platform of your choice, and we will see you next week on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast.